What a powerful thing it is. I appreciate Adalia pointing out like the beginning of the year, January, when we talk about the thing itself. So for anybody that's not familiar with, what we call the thing itself, it's just everything that is. It's the universe. Some people might use the word God. Some people might use the word spirit, infinite source, first cause, nature, or just the thing itself. Or I think one of in the blender, or a blender doing something. It doesn't care. Like, it's just is, and nothing can take away from that. And our goal, or our, maybe shouldn't place my intentions on other people. My aspiration is to move closer to that experience and to enjoy life in a fuller way. So who wants to make 2025 your best year yet? Yeah. Woo! It starts with the intention. And that's what we talk about, the thing itself. How does it work? Well, everything begins in thought. And so one of our risks is not realizing that and not paying attention to what our thoughts are. So it's kind of like a passive way of thinking. And that's how I used to roll. Before I learned about the science of mind, I started learning about these spiritual concepts, about how important it is to set our intentions, our goals, our perceptions of what we think the world could be. Because just by thinking that, we start a chain of actions and reactions that then helps create that. Does that make sense? I've talked a lot about the reticular activating system. I'm not going to go into it today, but you can look it up if you're curious. But it's our subconscious mind that takes what we tell it is important, and then it looks for it out in the world. And it gives us evidence that it's there. So if we want to have the best life ever, it starts by setting that intention, telling my subconscious or the subjective mind that I want to have the best year ever. How can we do that? And as soon as my subconscious mind starts to believe that that's really what I want, it starts to move. So that's kind of like one of the good things and the bad things is that the subconscious mind, the universe, creates by our thoughts. So the good news is it doesn't create every single thought instantaneously. Because if it did, it would be even more chaotic than it is right now, all the time. But it does listen to what we repeat, what we tell ourselves over and over, and it will draw us those experiences. So then, one of the other risks, and something that I've noticed like over all of my life, the phenomenon of people that go to church, and, they feel good about themselves that they're doing this thing on Sunday morning from 10 to 11. And then they get out in the parking lot, and they're like, heck with you, buddy, you're in my way. Get out of here. Beep, beep, honk. And like, all these people, they're all just maniacs out here. Right? So the risk there is where, what I like about Sinister Spiritual Living is it's practical spirituality. You can apply these concepts and techniques and see change. But we still even here in this concept, we still run the risk of just creating by default. We come here, we take in information. We might even go as far as signing up and taking a class and taking information. And it sounds good. We remember, we like to say we're not learning anything new. We're just remembering what our soul already knows. And so Ernest Holmes points this out. I'm going to use a really long quote from him. So I'll read it for anybody that can't see it. And he said, one of the great difficulties in the new order of thought, which is what we are here, we're a new thought philosophy. And so that's what he's referring to there. So one of the great difficulties is that we are likely to indulge in too much theory and too little practice. As a matter of fact, we only know as much as we can prove by actual demonstration. That which we cannot prove may or may not be true, but that which we can prove certainly must be and is the truth. So that's what we're encouraged here, is to take actions. We have to make a plan about what it is that we're going to do. When we hear, later on, we're going to do a white shell, seashell ceremony. I hope everybody's got their shells. If not, we'll get some more passed around here. I think I still need to get mine. But it's the little things of setting the intention, taking action. He used the words, what we can prove by demonstration. So just to kind of cover some of the vernacular and lingo, a demonstration is a prayer answered. It is when we do our affirmative prayer here, spiritual mind treatment is another name for it. We say it's affirmative because we are stating what it is that we want to experience. And stating it in a way that affirms, I am one with this creative mechanism of the universe. I'm one with this thing itself. And that's a concept that for a lot of people, I know for me, it takes a lot of repetition to know. Because, we are conditioned to believe that God is out there, God is beyond us, and it's something to be feared. It's something that gets jealous and angry. Maybe not everybody was taught that, but that's kind of the way I was taught, is that you have to always atone and you're never quite worthy enough. But why would all of this exist? Why would we exist if we weren't worthy? I'm going to read just a little bit more from Ernest Holmes. And he said, to suppose that the creative intelligence of the universe would create humanity in bondage and leave them bound would be to dishonor the creative power which we call God. It goes way back to my growing up in the Catholic religion. I learned a lot from it. It really instilled a sense of faith. I don't know if the faith was already there in me or not, but I believe that there was something bigger. But there was a couple things that I was taught that did not make sense to me, like an all-loving God. And this, I want to also preface this. This is in no way saying that Catholic faith is wrong. We honor all faiths here at Centers for Spiritual Living because we know that all of them contain certain truths that coexist in all of the different philosophies, cultures, and belief systems. So I'm not bad-mouthing it, but I'm stating where my concept of God or spirit evolved was when I was taught that God is all-loving, unconditional love, and we have free will. We're here to explore, express. But if you do it in a way that God doesn't like, then you've messed up. And that's it. You had your chance. You can spend eternity thinking about your mistake. It doesn't make sense to me. What Ernest Holmes is saying here, is that really free will if you're condemned for eternity? I don't think so. So God didn't leave us here just to flounder. God left us here with everything within that we need in order to thrive and grow and appreciate one another. Our nature is God's nature. So when we talk about the qualities of God or think about, for me, vengeful, jealous God, those did not work. That's small. That's restrictive. It's not confident. It's not something to me that says the infinite and the divine. But yet, when I show up in the world and I'm coming from a place of being petty or a place of jealousy or anger, perturbedness, and I'm cussing somebody out in my head or whatever, I am not being that nature of that bigger thing. And so if we hold beliefs that, yes, God and good, they're synonymous. You can interchange those words, is how a lot of people, especially in centers for spiritual living, feel. But we also know that we are that. Every single individual one of us. That life force that's within us is part of the infinite, one single life force. So as we state that God should be, and then we show up in a way that's different than that, it means we don't fully believe that God is that, or we don't fully believe that we are God. And a lot of people, that can sound, like to say I am God sounds blasphemous, or what's the word? Braggadocious. It's not quite the word, but it is a good word. I do like that word. So it's not in an egotistical way, because if I say that I'm God, doesn't mean that I'm better than anybody else, because you're God too. And Jesus, said this same teaching over and over to reiterate it. These things that I do, you will do too, and you will do even greater when you discover your true nature. So the teachings that Jesus and other teachers have given us lead us to our deeper nature. So I don't know who watched the teaser this week, but a little maybe controversial, I said in it that I think maybe the most selfish person to ever walk the face of the earth was Jesus the Christ. Selfish because if you want the best for yourself, if you want the best for your loved ones, the only way to achieve it is to see the best for everybody. And so when we see ourselves as separate or fallible or less than, or if we see other people as less than, infallible, and as jerks, as a hater, as a whatever, when we see that, we're seeing an aspect of God, and we're not seeing it as God's nature is. We're seeing it how our nature is. So everything that we can see, if you can recognize a quality in somebody else or recognize a quality in the divine, it's because that quality is within you. And here's the thing, we're infinite beings, so that quality, any quality, it's all within us to varying degrees. And that's where our job is to then decide and make an intention of how we're going to move forward. Who do I want to be? If I don't make a choice, then I go out in the world and something happens to me, causes me to react in this way, and I can, I lost my cool, but it was because that person did this thing. They made me do it. They made me. If they would have said that to you, you would have done the same thing, or maybe not. But by setting that intention in advance, by saying that I believe this is a kind, compassionate world, I'm setting the intention that I need to be kind and compassionate. So last week, we gave up. We set an intention of what we were going to release. I don't know who was going to text Janine about the youth. We're going to come in and do the shells with us. So if anybody is that person, go ahead and send a text now that we'll be starting here fairly soon. Our youth group wants to come and join us doing what we're doing. It's a variation of the white stone ceremony, but we're going to call in what we are replacing with what we let go last week. And if you weren't here last week and you didn't go through this, it's okay. Things will become clear as we attempt to draw in what we're drawing in and releasing what we're going to let go. But it starts now. Like right now is the perfect time at the beginning of the new year we'll be starting at the shell thing in just a few minutes. By setting that intention. So here's one of my favorite quotes from Ralph Waldo Emerson. He says, "The only person you are destined to become is the person you decide to be." People believe, some people believe that there's a fate, that we're destined for one certain thing, and, it's God's will, and just, let the chips fall where they may. But God helps those who help themselves because we are co-creating with all of it. And so as we step into this year, we want this intention to make a wonderful year for ourselves, The decision is how it all starts. Make sure there's nothing else that I really, really wanted to get out here. I mean, the one thing that I wanted to really kind of hammer home was back to that Jesus being the selfish guy thing. You know, I don't try to be, I know sometimes when I get up here and I hear myself, I sound like pious. Man, I've had a life, I've made mistakes, I still make mistakes. So I don't want to preach morality. We're all experimenting here in life, and making mistakes and poor choices is how we grow, and it's kind of to be expected. We're not perfect. Nobody's perfect. And I can forget that sometimes about myself, and I can forget that about others. But instead of preaching like be moral, because otherwise you'll spend life in eternity in hell, or whatever reasons, like be moral because what will people think of you if you don't act in this certain way? All of these things are in my opinion, the wrong reasoning. But in that selfish way, if we meet everybody's needs, if we bring love and compassion to others, we will see more of that in the world. Jesus was one of my favorite teachers. And so again, the turn the other cheek. If somebody asks me for something, I give them that, and I give them my coat too. These aren't things that are, need to be done because that's what God demands. These are things that I want to encourage people to do because it's how the universe works. And so if we want the universe to work for us in a way that meets those qualities, we have to be those qualities. And so this is the most selfish thing that we can do for ourselves, is to continue to love, express, and include others. So at this point, welcome to the youth. It's great to see you all in here. We will go ahead and get the shells. And we're going to draw inspiration from that deeper place. That one infinite mind of which we are part of is whispering to us all the time. It's telling us. It gives us desires, and it makes us feel good when we witness loving acts of compassion, when we witness somebody in the world that's doing something, kindness. Like it feels good just to witness it. And that's where that selfish nature comes in again. We are rewarded. When you do something nice for somebody, it causes a chemical reaction in our bodies. That's part of our evolution. That's telling us this is how you grow and expand. So I invite us all to just take a second and just shake everything off. Let everything just kind of go for a minute. What's flashing through with me is the Big Love Band. It was good music today. So I let it just flow through. And then holding the shell in that space. So the shell coming from the ocean is from the infinite sea of our spiritual nature. When we have dreams, when we interpret the metaphysical nature of the Bible, water refers to spirituality. And the shell is a place that has nurtured life, and it's also protector of life. So when we get to this place of holding this intention, we will be imbibing with the spiritual nature of the infinite universe, and we will also be protecting who and what we are within that shell. So I invite us to just open up. Looking forward, there is one aspect of life that is wanting to come through you. There's one trait that wants to be experienced and expressed more deeply through you. That one infinite mind that is spirit smiles upon us as we explore our intentions for the year. So the intentions that come up, they might be humorous, might be playful, or they might be serious. So knowing that there is a consciousness in this universe that brings all thoughts to our awareness, it is active through us at this very moment. And so as we come together, I invite you to allow your awareness in your mind's eye to take in everybody else around us. And everybody at home, whether you have a piece of paper to write on or something, just taking in this energy that we are all connected. That right now, showing up on a Sunday means that we are seeking and exploring our deeper spiritual nature, and we're connecting with everybody on a subconscious level that's also doing that same. And we all have our own roles to play. So maybe taking a moment of what you released from last week, and if you didn't, maybe just taking a moment and thinking about what was in my life in 2024 that did not serve me. Maybe it was a way of being, maybe it was a situation that I know I need to leave, or a myriad of things. But just thinking about what it is that you are releasing, and wave it goodbye once again. Because these things, we know that they are part of our being and that they may rise again and again. So every time that comes to mind, we let it go. And we call in what it is that we would like to see in its place. So right now, clearing our mind's eye, relaxing in, I invite you to see yourself standing with your arms raised in a V, knowing that you are having the best year ever. That you are tuned in, you have meaning, you have purpose. Every single thing you do is infused with an intention and a knowing that Spirit is expressing through you. And right now, in that feeling of victory, a feeling of contentment, feeling of community, what is that one aspect of yourself that is seeking greater expression? What is going to serve you this year to expand in your deeper nature that is ready to uplift this world in a way that only it can through you? So I just give you a moment just to see what rises up. Feel into it. Quite often, the very first thing that pops in your mind is the intuition talking to you. Whatever quality you choose to write in your shell, know that it is housed and it is protected, and that when you place this somewhere at home or at work or in your car or anywhere that you're choosing, somewhere that you notice it from time to time, that this is your reminder. So what you're calling in can be a quality, love, trait, kindness, compassion. It can be an object, something that would make your life more easy, more functional. It can be a relationship or a situation that you would like to experience. It can be greater financial abundance. It doesn't matter what it is, because these ideas that come to us come from that one infinite mind, and it is good. So if you've already written your word for the year, cool. If not, you can think about it. You can take the marker with you and think about it at home. But know that this is powerful. Like, just by writing something that your eyes then see gives it another neural pathways. The more ways that our mind works through this, touches it, feels it, senses it, the more our unconscious mind works on it, and it brings it about. So our spiritual principle that is in alignment with this is that we believe that the universal spirit, which is God, operates through a universal mind, which is the law of God, and that we are surrounded by this creative mind which receives the direct impress of our thoughts and acts upon it. So we are putting down our direct impress, and the creative mechanism, the unconscious mind of the universe, starts to work on it. Well, so our spiritual practice is intentional manifestation. And the seashell ceremony is the start for this year. And I want you to think about that quality. And at the end of the year, when you look back on this shell, reflect. We reflected a little bit last week to just, what did you do that was different out of your norm that was helpful? Starting this intention this year, and then looking back at the end of the year and seeing how it manifested in the way that you probably couldn't have picked in advance. So our affirmation, if you would join me in reading this, it says, I am one with all that is. So God's nature is my nature, and it is good. Does everybody feel good about an intention for the year? Yeah. You're going to put them on the vision board. There you go. That's another way to definitely to cement it all in there. So everybody, welcome to 2025. Thank you for being here. Thank you for being a seeker of light and a seeker of truth and a purveyor of functional, kind living. There is no other. We are all one, and how we treat the least of us is how we treat all of us, and until we're all free, nobody's free. But up in here, we have power, because out here, it's meant to be chaotic. It's meant to be duality, up, down, hot, cold, good, bad. But in here, it's all love. It's infinite love, and it can do no wrong, and it simply grows. So let's cement this in for the year, creating an intention by just affirming that there's one infinite mind, and it is the source of all life. The same life that is in the oak tree is the same life that is within me. The same energy and attraction that orbits planets is the same energy and force that animates my body, your body, everybody. So I know that the qualities that I assign to spirit of infinite capacity for love, that love with a capital L, that compassion, that is my nature, and that is the nature of all of us, and we are all on our individual paths returning to that, to know it for the first time because we chose it. So by setting our intention at the beginning of the year, Spirit meets us where we are, and it will start to make those connections. It'll bring us the right people, the right situations, the right events to be able to practice what it is we say we are, what we're calling in. So every time we feel the opposite of what our word was for the year, when somebody behaves in a way that makes it seem that that intention is not happening, that is the intention happening. It is our reminder. Every time that we are nudged or pushed or made to feel upset by something outside of us, that's our invitation to remind us of what we are, of what that quality and trait is that I'm experiencing this year. And as we choose it and return to it over and over again, we become that. And so I know that everybody here is a child of the infinite, and that we are all have the same destination, and we're just walking one another home together, as Ram Dass says. As I grow, as I learn, as I move closer to that love with a capital L, I know that it pulls everyone around me closer to that too. When one person does a good deed, it inspires me to do a good deed. When one person lifts up another, We all see it, and we know that it's good. So I just affirm and avow that everyone here is guided, is led, that there is a pulling force within that answers us. And when we tell it what we seek, it has a way of finding and bringing it to us. So embracing our intention setting right now, I invite us all to say, and so it is. So it is.